I'm Deanna Raybourn. I write the New York Times best-selling Lady Julia Gray series, which is a Victorian historical series with a strong mystery slant. And I'm venturing off now into doing a few standalones as well as my Julia Gray series, which I'm hugely excited about. I like to tag my books as historical fiction with a twist. It's historical. I love my Victorian era. I'm venturing into the 20s now. I was a history major and an English major, so I've always had a passion for history. But I also love the mysterious element. I like the idea that you never quite know what you're going to get from one of my books. And my favorite thing is to mess with readers in a really good way and to leave them at the end of a chapter saying, I can't put this down. I've got to turn the page and see what happens next. My 2013 release, coming out in May, I'm hugely excited about. It's called A Spear of Summer Grass. It's set in Kenya in the 1920s, and it's a really big departure from the Julia Gray series. I have a woman who is as far different from Julia Gray as you can possibly get. Her name is Delilah Drummond, and I have a hero by the name of Julian Ryder White, who goes by Ryder, and he is everything you would ever want an epic man to be. He is so much fun to write. They both were an incredibly fun couple to write, and they have a really big sweeping story that is as large as Africa itself. Delilah Drummond was not always Delilah Drummond. When I first thought up the character, I was going to call her Diana because it was a very fashionable name in the 1920s. There were many beauties in the society columns who had the name Diana, and it just seemed to fit. And yet, the more I started thinking about her character, the more I started thinking it didn't really fit. I wanted something a little more playful, a little more feminine. Diana just seemed like a very grown-up name. So I toyed with Daphne because it was a really good 20s name. Lots of 20s heiresses, little flappers with money were named Daphne. And I was almost there, but not quite. I wanted something that would be evocative of a woman with a past, a woman who's capable of tremendous scandal, kind of a wonderful sort of a glamorous man-eater. And that's when I hit on Delilah. And Delilah Drummond just worked as a name. And I knew immediately, as soon as I had the name, I knew exactly who this girl was. My next book after A Spear of Summer Grass is called City of Jasmine, and it's set in Damascus in the 1920s. And it was one of those books that came about because I started playing the what if game. I was watching Downton Abbey, and particularly the scene where Lady Mary is toying with the idea of marrying a newspaper baron. Very much new money, very much rough around the edges, and I started wondering what it would have been like if she'd gone through with that marriage and what their children would be like. Children who have to decide, are they old world, are they moneyed, are they aristocratic, or are they that sort of thrusting, ambitious, proving yourself on a day-to-day basis kind of people. And I came up with the idea of a young woman who wants to be a reporter, wants to write for her father's newspapers, and will do anything to chase a story. So what better place to send her than Damascus in the 1920s, where empires were being built on a daily basis. The map that we see of the world today largely had its foundation in what was going on in the Middle East right after World War I. And all the movers and shakers were there, T.E. Lawrence and Winston Churchill, and it was really the crossroads of the world, and history was happening all around. And so I thought, this will be a fun place to set a story. And she has a male counterpart who is, if anything, a little bit more reckless and temperamental and dangerous than any of the men I've written before, which I wasn't sure I could do. So I think this is going to be a really fun story, and I can't wait to share this one with readers.